Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is sponsored by Postman. Postman is the world's leading API platform, trusted by 98% of the Fortune 500 and over 40 million developers. Tap into APIs from 18,000 plus companies to power agents that make smarter decisions. Learn more at postman.com/podcast/codestory. This message is sponsored by Melee Search. Today, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And Melee Search gives your users the experience they need with lightning-fast performance, full-text search, AI usage, and multimodal capabilities. Melee Search delivers relevant results in less than the blink of an eye. Use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout to get 2 months free at meleesearch.com. That's MEILI search.com.
Our early adopters, the first 100, were probably, I would call them engine nerds. There was former NASA scientists, former astronauts, former athletes. These were top level people, right? And they had an instinct of what they were looking for in this game. And it made pretty clear to me when I talked to them. And what they told me was, hey, we need this. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And so that really built the first roadmap. After that, it became a roadmap that was balanced. You have to take care of making efficiency. You have to also take care of making innovation, right? It's innovation efficiency. My name's Chris Kline. I'm the co-founder and COO of Bitcoin IRA.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
Most
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes,
pain.
we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really
It's
want it.
not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story. I'm your host, Noah Lappart, and today how Chris Kline is helping more Americans retire with cryptocurrency, revolutionizing the retirement process with alternative assets.
This episode is brought to you by Paddle. Don't settle for less when you can have more, MOR, with Paddle, your merchant of record. Eliminate the headaches of payments, grow your revenue everywhere, and focus on what you do best, building your product. Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. This episode is brought to you by Propel. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use Propel Auth. Propel Auth is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, Propel Auth adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with Propel Auth. Check them out at propelauth.com. That's propelauth.com. Chris Kline grew up in Aurora, Colorado, and went to school in Boulder to study finance and leadership. He has lived through several significant events that led him to take risk and spend some time in small business and entrepreneurship. And eventually, he took a leap of faith, sold everything he had, and flew to California. But outside of professional life and technology, he's married with a 12-year-old daughter. He is fascinated by macroeconomics and loves to dig into alternative assets like real estate and gold. Chris started to get into crypto back when it was still in the fringes and people didn't really know what Bitcoin was. 10 years later, his company is solving the retirement process with alternative crypto assets. This is the creation story of Bitcoin IRA.
We were working in the self-directed IRA space back in 2012, 2013 on real estate, LLCs, precious metals, and other things. It came across my desk from my partner, Camille Concha. I was like, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin? And I'm like, I've never heard of it. And that's, most people have that story, right? That's usually the genesis story is, let me go down that rabbit hole at that orange pill. And it made so much sense to me because it aligned with our vision. Our vision since we started was to help more Americans retire. We're in a retirement crisis in this country today. What we tried to do with Bitcoin IRA was give people the alternative assets available so that they could find that benefit through tax advantage retirement accounts. When I started, crypto was pretty fringe, if you think about it. There was no regulation, there was really no technology, and there was really no way to put this in a retirement savings. And so we tried to build a solution to that gap. We built secure custody, simple onboarding, and in real crypto, real people guidance for people who wanted to explore this new asset class. And honestly, no, it was crazy at the beginning. But if you look back where we're at 10 years later, it's wow. Talk about perfect time, perfect place.
Okay, so I'm interested to dive into the crazy, and I'm really curious about the MVP for Bitcoin IRA. Like, what did that look like? You know, how long did it take you to bring it to life, and what sort of tools were you and the team using to, stand it up?
I always say the MVP product is always what the MVP defines as necessity. And so when we first started this, we launched it in June of 2016, and we did some press releases, and we got 50 accounts here, 50 accounts there, but nothing like where I needed to start building a technology solution. And then 2017 happened. And 2017, if you remember, Bitcoin went from like $500 to $20,000. Ethereum went from $40 to $500. And it was like very clear at that moment in time was like, ooh, boy, this is going to take a lot more technology than we expected because it's 24/7 access. The client is insatiable. The market never closes. So our original MVP was down and dirty. It was honestly, I remember being in the room helping people do phone trades back in 2016 and 2017. And what we did was after the run of 2017 going into 2018, we hired our CTO, our chief compliance officer, and our chief marketing officer and said, you know what, we have to get this to the next level. As much trades as we could get, as many people we could get, but it was a lot of paper. It was so crazy. 10 years past this, I'm always looking back and going, wow, it's so nuts. That's how we did that.
Okay, I'm curious to dive into, within that time frame, maybe a decision or trade-off you had to make that really sort of shifted how you went about building Bitcoin IRA to what it was today. An early decision or trade-off you had to make and how you coped with it.
Oh, I think the biggest trade-off was get off manual. So we were looking at speed versus security. So from the very beginning, we knew we were doing something that was never seen before. We were putting Bitcoin and crypto. At that point, it was just Bitcoin, but Bitcoin and crypto in somebody's retirement accounts. The last thing you want to do is lose a bunch of people's money. It's like the holy grail is the retirement savings. And so if we lost that, it was not going to be pretty. So we went security. And then eventually after that first year where we saw, holy crap, people really want this now. Honestly, like I always joke is like the typical crypto investor wants it yesterday. And so we had to kind of balance that speed versus security. So if we could have launched faster with fewer features, maybe. But I always prioritize compliance and safety. Like I just couldn't give that up, which meant slower growth in the early months and years, honestly. But it built us credibility. Credibility is like critical to scaling, in my opinion. And so we had to cope with that. We got a lot of blowback from clients. I can't believe I can't do this. I can't believe I can't do this. And just let us get there. We'll get there. Every good coder will tell you we'll build it. We'll get there. And so in the short term, we sacrificed speed, but I don't regret it. We're now at $14 billion of assets under custody. And I don't think if I would have sacrificed security for speed back then, we wouldn't be here today.
This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more, MOR, and DIY less. With Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is sponsored by Fullscale. Let me guess, your team's shipping sprint velocity looks good, but you're still asking yourself, is anyone actually thinking about the why? Matt Watson's been there. He's the founder behind Vin Solutions and Stackify, and now runs Fullscale with a 300-plus person dev team. And after 2 decades in the trenches, he's seen the same pattern over and over. Smart developers stuck in systems that reward ticket-taking instead of real thinking. That's why he wrote Product Driven, a playbook for tech leaders who are done babysitting developers and ready to build teams that own the outcome. If you're tired of translating every feature, doing all the thinking, or wondering why your smart team is still stuck, this is the fix. Go to productdriven.com/codestory to grab the book and get the bonus toolkit to help your team shift from output to outcomes, like 12 bold ways to get your retros out of robot mode. Again, that's productdriven.com/codestory. Maybe right past that decision point, how did you mature it and progress what you offered? Right now, you're 10 years later. I'm curious about that process, what you went through to mature it. And I really kind of want to wrap that in a box a little bit and say, what was your roadmap like? How did you decide, like, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Bitcoin IRA?
Early on, we listened to our clients. And that's actually, I would recommend that to everybody listening that's an entrepreneur building something tech-wise. Our early adopters, the first 100, were probably, I would call them engineers. There was former NASA scientists, former astronauts, former athletes, these were top level people, right? And they had an instinct of what they were looking for in this game. And it made pretty clear to me when I talked to them, because I know all 100, the first 100, maybe 200 clients. We're at 200,000 now, so I don't know all of them. I wish I did, but I know the first 200 or 300. And what they told me was, hey, we need this. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And so that really built the first roadmap, honestly. After that, it became a roadmap that was balanced. So you have to take care of making efficiency. You have to also take care of making innovation, right? It's innovation and efficiency. So you have to build new things, new features to get clients excited and get the new clients excited. But you also have to take care of the security of the existing ones. One of the things we've always done with our roadmap that I'm really proud of is we dedicate 30% of our points. We call them points, but some people call them hours. It just depends if you're agile or whatever you call it. But we dedicate 30% of our points to security. We've never given up that security component, Noah, because in reality, whether it's crypto or not crypto, the greatest weakness in this game is the user. They are the biggest problem. They will get SIM swapped, they will get hacked on their email. And if they're on Coinbase or some hot exchange and they're not within a retirement setting, bad things can happen. So we've never given up on that. Now we're SAC 2, Type 2 rated. We work with the best partners, but that's because we never gave up. That initial mentality I was talking about was like speed versus security. I stuck with security. We stuck with security, and we still stick with security. Still today, we spend 30% of our time on security. And you have to listen to your clients, and then you have to balance it with security is our roadmap. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. That's solid. And especially in the space that you're in too, the security and compliance is a table stake. You can't really go to market, earn that credibility like you mentioned, and then scale like you want to without it. So I'm curious about team, right? To do something like this is super innovative and solving a big problem is greatly successful. You got to have the right people at the helm. How did you build your team? What did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
We looked for people who were competent and adaptable. So you have to know your job, right? That's competency. But you also have to be adaptable because it's not even just like a startup mentality. This is a startup plus one, right? It's startup plus the cutting edge of crypto and everything else that's happening. And if you ask anybody in AI or anything else in blockchain, they'll probably say the same thing. So these assets, crypto, alternative assets, they evolve quickly. So we needed problem solvers who could operate in ambiguity. Remember back in 2015, we had no idea where we were going. To be completely honest, we're 10 years in and we still have to be in ambiguity. We have to look at culture as a key piece of who cares about customers, compliance, and making something people trust at the end of the day. So that's how we built our teams. I think to execute and scale simultaneously, you need people like that.
This episode is brought to you by PropelOff. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use PropelOff. PropelOff is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelOff adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with Propel-Auth. Check them out at propelauth.com. That's propelauth.com. This episode is sponsored by MailySearch. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone, and you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need MailySearch. MailySearch is lightning-fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open-source AI search engine is plug-and-play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. MailySearch utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, MailySearch delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to MailySearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. So let's flip to scale. And you touched on, the credibility aspect that allows you to scale. I'm curious if there are other areas where, scale has been factored into how you architect the solution or how you architect the business and the approach. And I'm curious if there have been interesting areas where you have had to fight it as you've grown.
Growth versus efficiency. That's what we're talking about. My grandfather, Grandpa Dallas from Louisiana, he passed in 2020. And he always used to say to me that, when the tide goes out, who's wearing pants. And I didn't understand that as a kid. I didn't understand that. But as an entrepreneur that's now 13 years into building a $14 billion company, I get it. We're always building to grow, but you also have to learn along the way. And so as we matured, I think we've implemented processes and systems that helped us scale efficiently without sacrificing that security we were talking about or the customer experience we were talking about. I think today we're much more proactive in building systems that anticipate growth rather than reacting to it. So it's proactive versus reactive at this point. But it's early years, man, that's the hardest thing. I was telling you about when I was in Colorado and I graduated college and there was literally no jobs because the houses were burning, financial services was falling apart. It was the worst economy in my lifetime. I was born in 85. And so I'm thinking about it and I'm like, oh man, is that efficiency or growth? There was no efficiency nor growth at that point in time. It was survival at that point in time. And Bitcoin has been through that, right? We've been through the survival eras. But also, you have to think about reaction versus proaction. I've been through so many groups where I've seen that they get this analysis paralysis. They build the perfect product that nobody wants, or they build the worst product that everybody wants, but they can't deliver it. Like, it's a balance.
When you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built, 10 years later, you've got a big, successful, product and offering and company and people. What are you most proud of?
Changing people's lives. So I've had several clients early on, and even in the first few years, where I had a nurse that worked until she was 60, and she took her 403B and she put it into Bitcoin back in 2017. And now she has $5 million and she doesn't have to worry about being a nurse anymore. She gets to decide to be with her kids and her grandkids and live her life to the fullest. So those are the moments I'm very proud of, but that's like microscopic, right? Macro, I'm really proud of creating something that gives people control and allows more Americans to retire, and also without giving up certain pieces of the necessity. So I'm always very proud of we have real crypto, real people. So if one of your listeners is calling or looking right now, they can actually call 877-936-7175, which is, I'm sure you've done a lot of these interviews and not a lot of people could just spat out their phone number that people can call for. That's important to me because people need people. Retirement is not a one-size-fits-all strategy. And I walked into this game 13 years ago with that understanding. And it means a lot to me to have people that call me. The number 11 client of our lives, Rocket Ron, he was a former NASA engineer, worked on the heat shields for NASA. and he calls me daily. Like, honestly, I think I might talk to him more than I talk to my wife, which is crazy, but that's the stuff that makes me so proud. You could build a product. We all build great products, right? No, we build great products. But that was the part where, for me, I was like, man, I'm changing people's lives. That nurse gets to retire. That doctor gets to do things. That rocket scientist, an average Joe gets an opportunity, because I just actually had a press tour in Vegas. And I was joking about this. Is in Vegas, it's a casino, right? The house always wins. When it comes to what we've done, the house doesn't win. The client wins. And that means so much to me.
Okay, Chris, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
Most honest entrepreneurs will tell you they make more mistakes than they make successes. I would say early on, and it wasn't really our mistake, but it was a mistake of the industry, was understanding the complexity of KYC and compliance. So with crypto, early on, it was a free-for-all. It was like Wild West. And then about 4 years in, it became nobody could get approved. And then 4 more years later, it was like, oh, everybody's approved again. And that was probably like, I don't think I navigated that very well. I also have a few situations in which I've lost team members over the years. As I'm being honest, as an entrepreneur, you lose people over time. And that always hurts a little bit. My reality is, as an entrepreneur, I like to hire slow and fire fast. And I've had a few times where I've fired people too slow. I've had a few times where I've hired people too slow. And you sit in that middle place, and and there's people, like, at the end of the day, crypto has cold markets, right? We've had bears. I've had 3 bear markets in my career. And sometimes you overscale, you hire more people than you need to, and you have to let people go. To me, my biggest mistake is having to fire people that didn't deserve to lose their jobs. That's my job.
So this will be fun. Tell me what the future looks like for Bitcoin IRA. So for what you offer, for the team, for the company, all the things. Tell me what the future looks like.
There's a couple good things going on. We're going to change the game of assets. So I've been on a lot of X Spaces and a lot of podcasts lately where we're talking about real world asset tokenization, which means think about the house down the street or the commercial building down on the freeway or whatever it might be. We're getting to a point in our economy where that can be tokenized. What tokenization means, fractionalization. And if we can fractionalize and tokenize these things and make it work within our space, that's a mind-blowing change, because you have billions and billions, if not trillions of dollars that are sitting in these kinds of assets, whether it's private equity, real estate, whatever it might be, that are looking for secondary market evolution. And I think that there's something really cool happening there. Beyond that, I think that we're going to do short term. We've already created yield for staking with our platform. So we have 4 or 5 tokens that are making yield. Think about long-term holdings. You get paid back in the asset you're holding. So whether it's Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot. So those are like short-term ones. But I think big term is this digitalization of the economy. And I think it's going to come very sooner than we expect. One of the things I always think about is I watched this video from years ago in 1986 or 87. I was 2 years old. I was born in 85. And there's a bunch of guys sitting at a Burger King in West Texas. And it's the first time the Burger King offers, let you pay me with credit card. That's the paradigm shift. And everybody on that video was like, oh, that's not real money. I have cold hard cash in my pocket. Why do I need these pieces of plastic? And think about where we're at today, 40 years later. I think that helping drive the paradigm shift is a big thing for me and where I want to go with this evolution. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Chris, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
Influencing the work ethic would be my daughter. I remember the day she was born and I went back to work and said, I got another mouth to feed. So it's time to get the job done. And there's a lot of people that will agree with that. It's like, it pushes you, right? Who pushes me to be a better leader and those types of things? There's a lot of people along the way. whether it was my Spanish teacher in 8th grade or my chemistry teacher in 12th grade or my business partner, Camilo, today. That's a tough question to answer, but I would say that what drives me the most is my family.
Okay, Chris, last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on the plane. What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
I would say that you focus on the problem you're solving, not the technology itself. So at the end of the day, if you want to change the world, you have to change a problem. And so many times I've seen people like, oh, we're going to do XYZ product and it's going to change the world. And I'm like, there's a lot of people that are already trying to do that. Or that problem doesn't really exist either. They create a problem because they get lost in the technology. So that's only step one. The second step is you have to be obsessed with the customer. You have to be obsessed with the customer. I will repeat that 3 times. The customer is the solution. If they don't like your solution, then you've lost. If you're not listening to them on iterations of the solution, you've lost. So you have to be willing to iterate quickly. And don't be afraid to take calculated risks. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Over the years, I lived in a motel for a year building my first company. I probably doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down everything on the line to build the next great thing. And you have to take those risks, because if you don't take them, then you're not meant to be an entrepreneur. And then the last thing I would tell him before he got off the airplane is build a team that complements your strengths, but also fills your weaknesses. Because no one, and I promise you this, no one succeeds alone.
Couldn't agree more with that. Well, Chris, thank you for being on the show today. And thank you for telling me the creation story of Bitcoin IRA.
Thanks for having me, Noah.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.